The tranquil courtyard conceals a daunting task ahead. Stepping out with her long-handled farming tools, the resilient woman crosses the narrow creek to confront the overgrown slope. Her initial strike serves not merely as a tentative probe, but as a bold declaration of war against the wild vegetation. With rhythmic and forceful swings, she approached the stubborn weeds, turning the untouched earth into her first battlefield. Turning the heavy earth demands immense physical endurance bathed in the relentless sunlight. She sweats profusely while maintaining a steady, rhythmic pace across every single inch of the land. Pushing the cleared debris aside, she advances deeper into the barren slope to gradually expand her reclaimed territory. The thick dirt stained on her gloves stands as a silent testament to the grueling physical toll of this relentless labor. The sharp blade severs the stubborn roots, exposing a stark visual contrast between the vibrant green turf and the dark and rich soil beneath. She steps back momentarily to assess the overall progress of her labor, before resuming the mechanical rhythmic motion of her digging. Viewed from the side, her slightly bent silhouette betrays the deep exhaustion accumulated from hours of toil. Yet her unwavering resolve remains visibly unshaken. As the final series of continuous strikes echoes through the air, this small, overgrown patch of land is finally subdued. The rushing creek injects a fleeting sense of vitality into the otherwise monotonous scene. Relocating to the opposite side of the slope, she lifts her heavy hoe to commence a fresh round of leveling work. Hoisting a massive chunk of turf high into the air, she demonstrates sheer physical dominance over the stubborn terrain. The shattering soil scattering upon her boots marks the violent yet necessary disruption of the earth's dormant surface. A brief puzzle allows a fleeting glance back at the work already done. Delivering the final heavy blows, she concludes the immediate objective with quiet determination. Yet deeply entrenched root systems still hide within the grass, refusing to yield easily. Gripping the long-handled hoe firmly, she targets these stubborn remnants with precision. Leveraging the tool's mechanical advantage, she extracts the weed clusters entirely from their subterranean grip. Clearing the land inch by inch, the dense tangled roots demand a significant increase in striking force to break their stubborn hold. She drops to her knees, manually extracting the fine tendrils that have aided the blade, blending brute strength with meticulous care. A brief pause allows her to wipe away sweat and adjust her hat before she quickly resets her focus, diving back into the fray with renewed determination as a massive pile of uprooted vegetation gradually accumulates nearby. This initial phase of excavation finally reaches its natural conclusion for the moment. She pauses briefly beside the accumulated mound, surveying the surrounding area with a quiet sense of accomplishment. Guiding the weathered wheelbarrow down the uneven stone slope, she positions it carefully next to the first massive heap of debris. Bending low, she gathers large armfuls of the bulky vegetation. Using her full strength to maneuver the heavy load into the cart with a firm grip on the handles, she pulls back to align the direction, then pushes the fully loaded cart away from the work zone, moving steadily toward the next destination. Navigating the uneven stone path tests her physical strength. Reaching the edge of the deep compost pit, she hoists the heavy container with considerable effort. A rustling cascade of discarded weeds empties completely into the hole, followed by a sharp shake to ensure no residue remains inside. The return journey feels noticeably lighter as the empty cart glides swiftly back toward the brightened clearing. Leaving the cart aside near the wall, she retrieves a wooden-handled rake and steps onto the freshly turned soil to begin the next phase of meticulous work. The rake's tines drag backward, pulling fine roots from the earth. Her movements possess a powerful rhythm as she traverses the slope laterally, sectioning the land with precision. But once an even brown surface begins to reveal neat, orderly textures under her labor, having completed the preliminary leveling of this zone, she halts briefly to catch her breath and survey the overall progress. Dropping the heavy rake against the side, she signals a clear transition from rough clearing to meticulous refinement. The sweeping motion brings the raking phase to a quiet close. She pauses, bending down to retrieve her traditional woven hat from the dusty ground. This essential piece of sun protection crafted from bamboo and pun leaves is placed firmly on her head. With deliberate care, she pushes the handcart down the gentle slope to a shaded resting spot. The rake is set aside, replaced by a sturdy iron shovel for the next demanding task. Standing sideways, she drives the blade deep into the earth pile, using powerful leverage from her waist. She lifts heavy clods of soil and sends them smoothly into the cart without interruption. Pushing the heavy load tests her resolve, trudging the muddy trail. Her sunlit silhouette embodies a grounded reliability. At reaching the lowland, she tilts the bed to dump the entire earth load precisely where needed. Adjusting the angle, she directs the final batch into the wall's deepest part, using the edge to smooth the surface. Setting the cart down brings brief relief. She tidies her hair and hooks the red hat onto her arm, gazing at the leveled ground. Wiping away the sweat, she leaves the hat aside and grabs the shovel again, bending over to dig into the weedy surface. Sweeping horizontally, she employs broader strokes to push the high soil down into the depressions. Shaping the initial landform, straightening her back, she shifts her angle to clear the remaining weeds on the slope's edge, backed by the accumulated dirt piles. With frequent swings of the shovel, she slices through the surface vegetation. Pausing briefly to wipe her face, she takes a moment before hauling the cart once more toward the unloading point. Rolling past the vegetable patch, she dumps the last load of dirt behind the brick structure and turns back for the final refinement. Picking up the long-handled shovel again, she performs a deeper vertical cut into the previously leveled area, turning over the fresh, moist subsoil beneath. Scooping mix earth fills the wide barrow. The repetitive loading gradually builds a small mound inside the cart. This process is not merely filling a container, but securing a heavy burden for the long journey ahead. Once the barrow is essentially full, she gently pats the soil down to secure the load. Her pink sleeves moving with practice, agility. Following her steady stride, the heavy cart leaves a trail of deep boot prints on the muddy path. Each step forward demands significant effort against the sticky ground. Arriving at the brick wall brings a profound sense of relief. She exerts her arm strength to tilt the cart, sending the soil cascading into the hollow behind. Setting the empty barrel aside, she grabs a long-handled hoe and steps inside the wall to spread the piled earth outward. Taking large strides, she swings the hoe to guide the dirt from the high points into the low-lying areas, covering the bare ground beneath, moving systematically from one end of the wall to the other. She transforms a chaotic mound into a perfectly leveled plot of land for future use. The work is steady and methodical. A vibrant red rose stands in stark contrast to the arduous labor unfolding behind it. The woman works tirelessly, first using her shovel to clear away surface weeds before digging deep to excavate the fertile dark soil. She carefully loads the heavy earth into her wheelbarrow. Gripping the handles firmly, she adjusts her stance and pushes the substantial weight forward, eventually disappearing once again onto the narrow path leading toward the creek. Later, she returns with the empty single-wheel cart along the water's edge. Halting by the simple wooden bridge, she inspects her surroundings with brisk efficiency, ready for the next task. Parking the cart, she enters the plot. Bracing her foot, she swings the long-handled hoe in massive arcs to loosen the earth. Keeping her head down in deep focus, she shifts her steps to ensure every inch of soil is turned. The rhythmic collisions echo and clearly working continuously in the center, she picks out weeds and stones. Her body swaying naturally with the digging cadence as sweat soaks her shirt. Switching to a rake, she begins to level the turned earth, smashing large clods and gathering the fine roots together. Drawing the rake home soil smoothly, displaying an absolute mastery over the space. She combs the earth into a remarkably smooth plane from far to near. Putting the hoe down, she simply wipes her forehead and leans the tool aside, marking the completion of the first tilling stage. Swiftly wielding the iron shovel, she scoops the earth mixed with dry grass into the single wheel cart in a coordinated, unbroken flow with the cart fully loaded. She presses the final shovel of dirt firmly in place, straightening her back to catch her breath. Reappearing at the terraced edge, she parks the cart securely below the slope and picks up the hoe. To continue the clearance, concluding the slope work, she walks toward the lower area with steady steps, occasionally pausing to observe the overall progress. Standing by the bridgehead, she swings the hoe vigorously to turn the soil, then sets it down to grab a rake from the ground. Moving toward the waiting single-wheel cart, she prepares for the next phase of her meticulous land preparation. She returns to the broader flat land, utilizing the hoe for rapid soil loosening. She works while the cart waits patiently on standby. Standing sideways, she expertly rotates the long-handled tool to scrape the surface mirror smooth, revealing the deep, rich texture of the earth beneath her feet. Turning around to make final adjustments to the corner by the bridge, she surveys the newly transformed landscape against the lush green backdrop of the hills. Walking over to the cart, she tosses the last raked clump of dirt inside, completing a remarkably organized and tidy slope.